Whether you're a fanboy or girl over Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox, there is no denying that almost every console has had something to offer in terms of helping the video game industry as a whole. So let's put our fandoms aside for once and take a look at 10 consoles that changed the video game industry for the better, or maybe worse. Keep in mind this list is not ranked from the most important to the least. It's completely random, so don't freak out too soon. Sick wood paneling, bro, but what is that thing? Well, kids, it's an Atari 2600, the godfather of modern video game systems that helped spawn a multi-billion-dollar industry. The Atari 2600 introduced many people to the concept of removable cartridges, a handheld controller, and most importantly, gaming in the comfort of your own home. Notable games for the console include Pac-Man, Space Invaders, and Adventure, which included the first ever video game Easter egg. And who couldn't forget E.T. the Extraterrestrial, the video game known for being excavated out of a New Mexico landfill in 2014 after years of gamer speculation. In my opinion, the most important console of all time, the NES, was the console that put gaming back in the living room after the video game crash of 1983. Much of Nintendo's early success was in part due to their excessively strict licensing system, which would only allow games to be released after tedious scrutiny from the Japanese developers, something Atari unfortunately learned a little too late. Notable games for the NES include the spawn of some of the most well-known franchises around the world, including Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, and Donkey Kong. The PlayStation was the console that never gave up. After being turned away time and time again, the PlayStation arrived in 1995 and hit the ground running, never looking back. It marked a new era for video games, marketed and aimed towards a more mature audience and not just children. Utilizing CDs over cartridges, the PlayStation helped pioneer the concept of cinematic gaming with the additional space. With titles including Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid, and Final Fantasy VII, the PlayStation was able to offer 3D cinematic scenes that wowed gamers across the world. The Xbox 360 was the first console to bring high-definition gaming bundled with a full online integration with the Xbox Live membership. Much of the success of the Xbox 360 was in part due to the Xbox Live service. PlayStation 3's online services were free, but not nearly as reliable as a paid Xbox Live membership, and gamers were more than willing to shell out some extra money for the reliability. This changed the way we played multiplayer forever. Instead of sitting together in one room, gamers ended up playing with gamers all around the world, something Nintendo still hasn't fully grasped quite yet. The Super Nintendo continued dominating the video game industry with their all-star first-party lineup, with Mario, Samus, and Link all making returns, and Donkey Kong making a bigger splash than ever, with some of the best 2D RPG games ever made in Chrono Trigger, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Final Fantasy VI. The games created for the SNES alone and their impact on the industry alone give you a reason that the SNES deserves to be on this list. The best-selling video game console of all time obviously had to make the list. In total, 155 million units sold. After the success of the PlayStation 1, Sony continued its trend and had their biggest winner to date with the PS2. Utilizing DVDs, the PS2 continued the trend of cinematic storytelling in video games, and possibly even more important, it could play DVDs. At the time, this was a big deal. Before streaming content became king, families could opt to pay slightly more money for an all-in-one entertainment system that could play movies, CDs, and games. The Nintendo 64 is home of some games that truly changed the way we play video games. First and foremost, with Super Mario 64. The game changed navigation of 3D environments forever and was revolutionary at the time. With GoldenEye 007 in the lineup as well, Nintendo, oddly enough, sparked the console shooter craze that is still huge today. With the addition of rumble packs for controllers, the N64 brought many firsts to gaming, but it was also the very last console to utilize cartridges.
007ゴールデン
The Sega Genesis was the only real competition Nintendo had up until the PlayStation would hit shelves in 1995. Competition is king and truly helps keep innovation alive, and Sega was just that for Nintendo. Without the Sega Genesis, Nintendo's competition would have been so minuscule at the time that you could have considered Nintendo a monopoly in the game console market. One of the best aspects of the Sega Genesis was their 6-button controller that offered much more variety in gameplay mechanics than any other console at the time. This helped spark the fighting game revolution with Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and who could forget about the Sonic games that were actually good? While more hardcore gamers would laugh at the Wii for being revolutionary and helping the video game industry, I believe it's one of the most important consoles that Nintendo has put out since the NES. While the Xbox 360 changed the way we play with gamers with the online revolution, the Nintendo Wii changed the face of gamers entirely. The motion control system, while shoddy at best in the first wave, changed the way we thought about playing video games. Instead of sitting on a couch, users were forced to stand, move around, and flail their arms around, changing the way we played video games. While some gamers dislike the idea of motion controllers, they're absolutely needed to be fully immersed in a virtual reality environment. This new way of thinking could have been a major contributor to the wave of virtual reality that we see today. But the PlayStation 4 is way better than the Xbox One. While that may be true, I believe the direction the Xbox One is moving towards has a much bigger impact than the PlayStation 3 or 4. Yes, the PlayStation 4 can be considered the best video game console right now, but in terms of advancing the video game industry, the PlayStation 4 has made hardware upgrades and not too much more. However, the Xbox One is bringing content to a gaming console that was never available beforehand. Take for instance their P90X Xbox One workout program utilizing the Kinect. While I'm sure many of you think it's stupid and something you do not want, you have to remember that advancements in other types of technology will only have a positive effect for gaming in the future. If Project Morpheus was released already, the PlayStation 4 would have crushed the Xbox One out of this list so fast. So which console do you believe made the biggest impact for the gaming industry? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. My name is David Brown with TGN. Have a good one, gamers.